And
sorry, actually, not that. Sorry, I apologize. I'm confusing it with something else.
Right. No, but you sent me a message afterwards.
Dr. Murniati is already with us also.
It was just the informal one that we had a few of us on the call, yeah?
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, Dr. Murniati.
No. So okay, no, so there was another one. So basically, they had about 2,500 people joining in through different channels, YouTube, Zoom, and it was a huge success.
Oh, sorry, sorry, I apologize. I'm confusing it with something else.
All right. Okay. No, but you sent me a message afterwards.
Or maybe just coincidence.
Dr. Murniati is already with us also.
Well, it's just the informal one that we had a few of us on the call, yeah?
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, Dr. Murniati.
No. So okay, no, so there was another.
Yeah.
So basically, they had about 2,500 people joining in through different channels, YouTube,
could reach that number.
Zoom, and it was a huge success.
Dr. Murniati is already with us also.
Well, it's just the informal one that we had a few of us on the call, yeah?
I think.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, Dr. Murniati.
No. So okay, no, so there was another.
Yeah.
So basically, they had about 2,500 people joining in through different channels, YouTube,
could reach that number.
And I think the system has gone crazy.
Dr. Murniati is already with us also.
Well, it's just the informal one that we had a few of us on the call, yeah?
I think.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, Dr. Murniati.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Yeah, I tried to actually change my internet provider, so I hope this looks better.
Super.
The connection just now was
Very
a bit
good.
delayed.
So far, we have participants from all over Indonesia. Someone is from eastern part of Indonesia, middle part of Indonesia, and western part of Indonesia.
Fantastic.
We are now in 3 time zones in Indonesia. So someone is in Eastern Standard Time, middle Standard Time, and then Western Standard Time.
How many people are from outside Indonesia right now? I can see Dr.
65 now so far, but I'm not sure how many of them are from outside Indonesia.
Yeah, we have about
from Dubai, from Pakistan, from Qatar. Yeah, they are putting message on chat and saying that they are from Qatar, they are from Pakistan, they are from Dubai.
And I can see one from Bangladesh as well. So, okay. We would start at 6 o'clock sharp, which means 11 minutes to go.
How long before you break your fast, Humayon?
Another about 3 hours to go.
Wow. Kamran, you should be more sensitive. No tea drinking.
Yeah, especially, you know,
enjoy.
Close to... When we are so close to iftar, okay, this is, I am not a porridge guy.
Yeah.
But day before yesterday, around this time, my little daughter, she was eating porridge.
Uh-huh.
And I told my wife that, oh, in iftar, I'm going to have porridge.
Yeah.
Now, can everyone see us and hear us, or only the the panel?
No, everyone.
Everyone.
Yeah, this is
Okay.
clear enough.
So my salams to everyone.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullah.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullah.
How is the situation now in South Africa? A bit of relaxation or not?
We moved on to level 4, and there's anticipation to move to level 3 by the 1st of June, which would really open up economy and commerce a bit more. So I think people are more concerned that they can't work and businesses are not running.
Right. Are you sure you're doing something of your own, or you're just following Boris Johnson?
It looks like everyone's doing their own thing, but yeah, we're following a similar trend.
Right.
How is Ibrahim doing now?
Alhamdulillah, no, much better.
What happened? Was he
Such a
dancing in the
freak
shower
accident.
room or what?
No, he wasn't. For some reason, there was surface tension on the glass, and the glass exploded. And he walked into one of the pillars, and it cut his leg quite severely. So, and then he got a lot of little cuts, on his feet and everywhere else. But alhamdulillah, he's okay now.
Alhamdulillah.
Something you never expect to happen.
Yeah.
No.
How is Amman? How is Uncle Solly doing?
He's well. I sent him the invitation, but in South Africa, the timing doesn't work because it's iftar time, and people are praying and breaking their fast. And he said he would have loved to have joined the conversation this evening, but unfortunately, the timing precludes him. But inshallah, maybe the next time, outside of Ramadan, I'm sure we'll get a bigger audience from my part of the world.
Right. Maybe we should have one webinar involving him.
Oh, you would love it. Yeah.
They always can catch up from the YouTube, Brother Amman.
Yes,
That's right.
no, I definitely will pass him the link. He asked for it, and I'll send it through to you.
How many hours do you fast in South Africa?
Just around 12 hours, just more than 12, just about 12 hour 15. So we're moving into our winter, so it's a shorter fast.
Yes. How short will you experience normally?
No, the fasts are quite reasonable. I mean, we got a very, I live in Johannesburg, which is a high altitude. So it's the humidity is nothing like Indonesia and Malaysia. So we've got great weather. And with winter coming in, it's not a harsh winter. It's cold, but not extremely cold. So it's good conditions for fasting.
So like in the UK, as short as 8 hours during winter time, if I fast like Sunnah fast, and longest
winter,
is 19 hours in the north.
Now ours is not as extreme. So winter around 12 hours and summertime around 15 and a half hours.
All right, okay. Bearable, yeah. Well, alhamdulillah, I managed my children, although they were like small kids at the time. they managed to fast with me for 19 hours or so in Glasgow.
Wow.
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
That's really.
Yeah, the teachers were not really happy because they thought that I tortured the students, the children.
Yeah. I think the Tarawih prayer would be the torture on a 19-hour fast.
Yeah. We only, could eat just for 4 hours, and then the Tarawih was like 12 midnight till 1 a.m. and we really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Amazing.
For 5 years, 5 Ramadan. Yeah, we spent that in the UK.
Wow. And I suppose in Indonesia, it's pretty consistent every year. I mean, there's not too much of a change.
Yeah, I mean, 15 minutes or 30 minutes different. Yeah, there is still like slight changes. Like nowadays is a bit faster. Like we broke fasting today, like 10 to 6 p.m.
Okay.
Like in the early Ramadan, we broke our fasting 10 past 6. So it's a bit better. Yeah, I mean, not much.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah.
You're right.
Nice.
So Amman, do you go to office or not yet?
I've been to the office once in 60 days, and that's because I needed to reset my password. But there's no need, Dr. Dai, at this point. Things are, and also, you know, we've established some interesting digital protocols at the office. So before coming in, you've actually got to capture on your banking app that you're coming into the office and which office you'll be coming to, and then on arrival, you capture your temperature into the app. So it's quite a complicated process, and if I don't need to be in the office, I don't. We're finding our customers are loving it because they have access to senior executives in the bank like never before, because Microsoft Teams is doing a much better job than a one-on-one. And generally, you know, to set up a one-on-one meeting, the logistics and the nightmares of getting people's diaries are impossible. So a lot of our larger customers are appreciating this lockdown.
Right. Kamran, have you been to your office?
It's about 60 days. 2 months.
So for 2 months. All right.
Yeah.
Professor Da, just a small thing. Yeah, I just sent you the message. If you kindly just, there are 2, 3 rules for everyone once you start in just 3 things. Kindly just announce this one.
Where have you sent the message?
Yeah, I sent you in your chat.
Oh, chat. Okay. I have to. Where is it?
Yeah, I'm just sending you on your WhatsApp as well.
Okay.
Here you go. After this announcement, I think we should start.
All right. Are you going to make this announcement or me?
Sir, as moderator, if you could kindly, I can do it as well on my side.
No. Okay, I can do that.
Sure, thank you.
You meant turn off the video during the webinar, right? Or
yeah,
turn on?
No, turn off for the participants. Yeah.
All right. Okay. I think we are just about to go. 1 minute to go. and let's get ready.
Great.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first Cambridge IFA live webinar on a very interesting topic, COVID-19 as a disruption to social and professional behaviors, implications for work-life balance. We are 5 panelists. No one is a moderator. I'm just starting this. Otherwise, this will be a conversational style 1 hour of interaction. I would briefly introduce our panelists. We have with us Amman Muhammad, who is CEO of FNB Islamic Banking in South Africa. We have with us Aleem Cummins, who is a technologist and a thought leader in technology and related industries. And we also have with us Kamran Sherwani, who is head of Sharia and compliance with Abu Dhabi Commercial Bank in the UAE. And we have with us Dr. Murniati Mukhlisin, who is Rector of Tazkia College University in Jakarta. COVID-19 has affected all of us without any discrimination. And the life has, as a result, changed. For the first time in my life, and I'm sure in your life as well, we are seeing the global economy shut down. There is no country in the world which has not been affected by this global pandemic. So on the world level, there are visible effects of this one. But in our today's conversation, we are actually going to look into the effects of COVID-19 on the micro behaviors, social and professional behaviors. The idea came when we were talking to each other. We found out that a number of our professional colleagues, they were behaving in significantly different way as compared to their behavior pre-COVID-19. And similarly, we found that our own attitude towards life has changed. I would take a couple of minutes to share what has changed in my life. I am an entrepreneur. I run quite a few businesses. As a result of this global shutdown, my business has been affected in a very significant way. As a result of that, someone like me who was accused of not enjoying staying at home, i.e. someone who would be traveling around the world most of the time, for last 60, 70 days, I am actually at home, staying with my family, with my kids. And for the first time, I should say that I have discovered the lives of my children in a significant way. And I have started working with my son, who is thinking of launching a new online educational platform. Myself, before COVID-19, I never liked technology, but now I am actually using technology in an extensive way in a number of activities we are doing as part of our business. I'll give one example. Among other things, we hold Global Good Governance Awards. This year, Global Good Governance Awards were scheduled to be held in Bali on April the 7th. But because of this pandemic, we have decided to hold this award ceremony online. And I must say that we are enjoying our preparations. Online award ceremony, we believe, is going to be far more effective than the physical award ceremonies we have held in the previous years. Of course, there are certain things people would be missing. Everyone was looking forward to going to Bali. Okay. That would not be the case. However, I'm sure that a lot of people would enjoy the release of our online awards ceremony for Global Good Governance Awards from London. This is, just one example of the life changing for me. We have other panelists. I would actually like to ask Kamran Sherwani to share some of his observations and some of changes he has observed in his own life, in his own behavior. I've asked Kamran ahead of Amman because after my boring opening remarks, Kamran would cheer you up. Kamran.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum to everyone. I have actually made a few discoveries. Number one, that apart from being a Sharia advisor and expert, I'm a very good hairdresser as well. And secondly, I can do car wash business as well. So these are the few changes which came into my life. So there are some limiting beliefs that I can't do this, I can't do that. But when you are forced to do something, then you come to know that, oh, it was not difficult. So I was able to do that. So I have seen a significant change, first of all, in my personal life. And I actually thought that I am a person with a huge likability. And when I'll be staying at home, everybody would be extremely happy. But unfortunately, it is the other way around. So now I am on their heads all the time, 24 hours, and trying to give instructions to everybody at home. So they are now sick and tired of my presence, and they are now saying when this lockdown will be over and when you will start going to office again, or you will start traveling again. Dr. Dar.
That's true, but what is the this is something which everyone faces, by the way. Okay, I think because of we the men working from home, the perception of value of our work amongst the people who observe us at home, it has gone down. Okay. When you leave home every day and you are dressed up for this thing, okay, people think that you are going for an important job. Okay. And if you're doing the same thing at home, apparently not a lot of value is put on that time spent. Amman, you run a bank. Now you are
Yes.
running a bank while being at home. How different is this one?
Yeah, thanks. And I just had to laugh because I'm also married to a businesswoman who is very active in a retail business. And, when she sees me sitting for 8 hours in front of my computer, she says, you mean this is what you do for work? Whereas, they're running around. And, for me, Humayon, it really, when I really thought about this, sitting at home for 60 days, like most of us, two words come to mind: evolution and revolution. And, evolution refers to the slow and gradual development or changes in something over a period of time. What COVID did to us was definitely a revolution because it was a sudden turnaround. It was complete radical change. It was so extreme, and it was complete in its changes to the way people live and the way people work. And what I find particularly interesting when I started delving a little bit deeper without getting too theoretical, I find it particularly interesting in this regard that when one looks into the definition of revolution that have occurred through human history, and they vary widely in terms of their results, which included major changes in culture, in economy, social, and political perspectives. And these were generally, the response to a perceived overwhelming autocracy or plutocracy. Yet with this COVID-19, the factors are definitely consistent from an economic, cultural, social, and political view, but the perpetrator is an invisible enemy, is neither an autocrat, neither a plutocrat, and it's not rooted in any established political philosophy. So it's disrupted our lives. It's an invisible enemy. And as Kamran says, our families are beginning to hate us because we're spending too much time at home.
Right. No, thank you very much, Amman. Before I ask Aleem or Murniati, I would like to remind everyone that you can ask questions. The certain rules. Whosoever would like to ask questions, they can send messages privately to an account called Q&A. Okay. And once your questions are received, okay, they would be forwarded to the panelists, and if they think that this question should be answered, they would be answering it. Murniati, okay, as you are the only female panelist, and you are in minority right now, 4 versus 1. However, you run a very big university. Okay. Can you share with us a couple of examples of changes in social behavior and changes in professional behavior of your colleagues or students during this crisis?
Yes, thank you, Prof. Dar. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah. Thank you for inviting me to this forum. And of course, there are, as the previous panelists said, that there was, I mean, we are facing disruptions, but I think we also like experience new blessings that I would like to share. In this changes in the social interaction, for instance. The university students and the lecturers are now at home. So whenever we actually interact through the e-learning platform, we always see their children sometimes, their children's voices, their wives. So it seems that everyone in the house know each other. They know about their husband's job in the campus, and the parents of the students also know what the students are actually studying from the campus, from the university. And I take the positive side that the financial literacy, the Islamic economics and finance, because we actually offer, the university offer basically Islamic economics and finance studies, and also Sharia and educations. And this actually gives a kind of new atmosphere in the houses of the students, because now they're at home, and whenever they have a learning platform and interactions with their lecturers. So everyone in the house know about what is actually Islamic economics and finance. So which is actually a big job for Indonesia to how to increase the index, the Islamic economics and financial index literacy. So I think this is something good that come out from our university. And we hope that once, because everyone is actually now being attached or familiar with the technology, and this is opening a new opportunity for the university to actually offer online programs, which actually it is not really allowed in Indonesia for the conventional universities to open the university, because we have open university in Indonesia. So I think this is something that we would like to welcome. And of course, there are some other discrepancies here and there, such as the internet connections. As you know, Indonesia has a huge areas, and we have 13,000 islands all over Indonesia. So our students come from almost these islands in Indonesia. So it is somehow in certain places in Indonesia, it's very difficult to get internet connections. Yeah.
I think technology is something which is going to play a very big role in everyone's life.
Yeah.
I was not a very big fan of technology before this pandemic, However, I believe that in our business and of course in our social life as well, technology is going to be even bigger. Aleem, okay, as our technology guru, okay, what kind of changes have you observed on the technology front?
So, assalamu alaikum, everybody. If I could just touch on strategy for a moment, just to underpin this, because ultimately strategy is deciding what to do next. And strategy runs in well-known ways in businesses, well-established parameters. And to a greater or lesser extent, strategy is successful based on maybe business maturity, market maturity, research, ethics, forecasting. All those things are people. So people are very, very important to strategy, and strategy is very, very important to the business. And strategy clearly needs to be well thought out and well informed. Now, COVID-19 is a massive shock and disruptor to strategy. We're now going online. So the way we do strategy is no longer available in this period of time. It's no longer available in this period of time. It also means that the strategy that we may have used in the past that was procedural is no longer available to us because those tools are not available online. So because we're now using Teams and Zoom and things like that, the way we do strategy is different. And the problem with strategy is it's all about deciding what to do, but many people can't decide what to do. And we've seen that being very prevalent with politicians and leaders and all sorts of people. And it's difficult. How do you know what to do? Hence the power of webinars like this. So for me, I think in terms of eras, I think we have three phases here. I think we have the pre-COVID-19, I think we have the present COVID-19, and we have the post-COVID-19. And the pre-COVID-19 phase is fondly referred to as normal. And people want to get back to normal. I get that. But the thing about it is, let's not assume or let's not think that normal was brilliant. So what we had post-COVID wasn't a perfect scenario. So I'm hoping, because we're all in this together, we're all facing in the same direction, we will have the impetus and a unique opportunity to redefine the new normal, to make it more equal, to make it more egalitarian. And I kind of hope that can happen. But strategy is going to be very different going forward, because we now know we can have a pandemic, which then means we know there's going to be another one. Whether it's 100 years or 4 years, we now need to have business continuity planning around pandemics and all of the furnishing of that. So there's a lot going to happen around strategy. So that's kind of, Professor Dar, where I see technology companies absolutely being affected. That's a core principle that we ought to have. How do we strategy? And that's going to change. And we need innovation to help businesses be able to strategize, be able to put down those rules and those policies.
When it comes to technology, of course, okay, you know, COVID-19 has forced us to use technology. But there are some people who actually have been enjoying technology even before this. I personally know Kamran. Okay, we have traveled far off places where people would be very primitive in terms of technology. He would force them to use technology. So Kamran, can you share some of your perspectives on this?
Sure. First thing is that technology has played a very important role in changing people's habit in all parts of the world, especially in UAE. I can consider myself a bit lucky that I live in a part of the world where every technology is available much before time, or at least in time. We can talk about contactless payments, online shopping. So during the last 2 months, I haven't gone to any shopping mall for shopping. All the shoppings were contactless payments and online purchase and then delivery at home. So I think technology has not only played an important role other than my professional life, where I'm sitting in my office just like as I was sitting in my office 2 months ago. So my office starts at the same time, my office finishes at the time when choose to finish normally. So the technology has actually helped me, and this webinar is one of the examples of that. And I have seen the changes in behavior that when we used to have 2-3 meetings in a week, now we have 20-30 meetings in a week, thanks to various electronic platforms which are now available. A few changes in professional behavior which I have seen, and I think because people are watching us and joining us from different parts of the world, they should be knowing that situation is different everywhere. When it comes to professional behavior, especially when people are working as an employee of some institution, there is every possibility that people think, there is every possibility that people start thinking that our employees may think that we are just enjoying our time.
I'm actually right now in the middle of
we are not working. So because of that, I think there is a possibility of burning out, that people may try
it has
to
already started.
prove, Dr. Dar, please mute. So there is a possibility of burning out, that I would like to tell my employer that I am devoted towards work. So I have seen people sending emails at 3 a.m., then next is 5 a.m., next is 7 a.m., and it's going throughout 24 hours just to say that, okay, I'm very devoted employee. I think this is going to result in a burnout. This is not going to help your organization. And I have a few tips in this regard. And I would suggest to everyone, where are you from, that stick to your office timings. Just create an office environment. Try to be formal as much as possible, or as much as expected by the employers. And trust your colleagues and trust your employers, because they also trust you. Otherwise, it will create a chaos, not only for your family, for your colleagues, but also your inside your brain, inside your heart. So it is very important that we create an environment which is healthier, and it is going to help. Now, I would also like to ask a couple of questions, because I'm sitting in a part of the world where I have not seen any queues outside the shopping centers and outside the grocery stores. But has it changed? My question is especially to Aleem and Amman and Dr. Murniati, that have you seen any changes in psychological behavior of food insecurity or any other types of insecurities? So Amman, if you can tell me about that. Mute.
Kamran, it's an absolutely relevant question that you're posing, because in a country like South Africa, while we have snippets of first world in certain areas, bulk of the country is a third world country. And with the bulk of the population not being able to work to earn a living, they've become highly dependent on any sources of food. And apart from just the working class who have money that have to stand in queues to get into supermarkets, you have this massive population that are dependent on other people for food. So we've definitely seen the impact that this had, where people's earnings are cut, and as such don't have money to even get food. And then those that have money are subjected to standing in queues to purchase basic necessities. Interesting, in South Africa, an item that is causing a lot of grief amongst the population is the ban on tobacco. And I think we're beginning to see the effects of the addiction to cigarette smoking, because people are getting really upset. And when the president addressed the nation two or three nights ago, he had a long speech for an hour, but he spoke nothing about the tobacco ban, and Twitter lit up people were upset because, they couldn't get their normal tobacco fix. But coming back to your point, it definitely is a problem. And the whole element of queuing for food presents its own issues with social distancing, because you don't see everyone observing, the necessary protocols like wearing a mask and standing the required distance apart. So Kamran, certainly something to be concerned about. And, the whole element here is about educating the masses about how we can control the effects of the pandemic. Thanks.
Murniati, do you want to add anything on that?
Yes. Thank you, Brother Kamran. Yes, we also have very big concerns on that part. And in the very beginning, in the early year, that the government announced that the level of poverty is actually reduced to single digit. And then, by having this impact on the COVID, so we expect to increase the poverty to 12.3% from 9%. And of course, obviously that the people have problems with the food security, but the government took a very immediate actions on the cash aid, and also to make sure that the efficient, food stock, etc. And also during Ramadan, people are getting more concerns about giving donation, zakat, infaq, sedekah. And I think this is good tradition, where Indonesians are known as the people who are really caring, and then they have a social affections more than before. And this is what we expect to increase the level of the food consumptions, and of course it will then also increase the economic activities. So we are quite happy that today people, I can see from some posting from the social medias, and also the zakat institutions, they really make sure that nobody actually starve for food. Of course, we still receive some messages where people, in some areas, crying for food, etc., but not so much.
I actually, when I was listening to all of you, given the scale of this pandemic, I thought, everyone would be in tears, a huge kind of personal crisis. But apparently, I have listened to you saying, oh, we are happy with this thing, or there is this positive thing. No one is talking about the negative aspects of a pandemic. I can share with you a lot of things, which have actually affected, especially those who were running their own businesses. Probably, for those who are employees who are working for public sector organizations or private sector organizations, but more so in case of public sector organizations, they are not being affected by this pandemic in an adverse way. At the end of the day, they're staying at home, and the salary, if not full, but 80%, 90% salary is coming to their pockets.
Yes.
So for them, this is a holiday period. People like me or people like Aleem, we have to run our businesses.
Yeah.
This is a very, very difficult time. I don't think people actually realize the full scale of this problem. In countries, I was born in Pakistan. In countries like Pakistan, where there's complete lockdown, now a vast majority of the people, they are actually in the informal sector, i.e. they're running their businesses. Their businesses have been shut down. They have been closed down. And as a result of that, there are some big shocks to the incomes and earnings of the people. These people are in problem. And I think, what Aleem was saying, people like us, the self-employed or those who are running their businesses, they have to think very carefully for their future businesses. If something of this kind happens again, many businesses which are surviving, including my own business, alhamdulillah, we are surviving. But if after 4 or 5 years, another crisis of another nature hits us, we will be in big trouble. Okay. And this fear, this, concern, I have never experienced in my life. This is a definite change in my thinking, in my way of doing the things. And I was someone who would believe in office environment. Whenever I would hire someone, a lot of times, especially the technology guys would say, "Oh, we would be able to work from home," and I would not hire them. But because of this pandemic, I actually have started looking into contracting out. Okay. Contracting out means, okay, these guys, they are not on my payroll. If they or do some work, they get paid. If I don't give them any work, they don't get paid. But in case of my employees, I have to pay them whether there is any work or not. Okay. Aleem, do you want to add something on this one? Because we are in the same boat.
No, that absolutely is the same boat. Because ultimately, we also have furlough is a wonderful thing in the sense that the government is paying maybe 80% of the employees' wages. But there then becomes a furlough time bomb. Because after a couple of months, people get used to what they have and needing to return to work. Well, why bother? Because if I stay at home, I'll get 80%. My salary will go down, so maybe I'll get tax credit. So we have to be careful we don't incentivize people not to work to the detriment of small business as well. That's definitely one of the issues. But in terms of prediction for a second, I think one thing that we will see, I'm predicting this, is that we'll see a pandemic business continuity planning and response, right? I think that's going to be a whole new area. And for that, we're going to have standards, regulation, compliance, education, and collaboration. And data is going to be a very, very important aspect to that. So I think a whole new discipline is going to come out of this. So like everything, I mean, this is a time of realignment. It's a time of innovation. It's a time of growth. Some growth is post-traumatic growth, but nonetheless, it's still growth. But there's always going to be winners and losers. And I think this is also a strong time for entrepreneurs. It's a strong time for those in innovation. But what I really want us to be able to do is to help each other here today and beyond. What can we do to move forward? What can we do to collaborate together? And I think a meeting like this is a fantastic first step. So the more of these we can do, I think the more we can help to inform what happens on the ground. So whether I can afford to employ somebody, should I furlough them? Should I use people by the hour? All of these questions are coming into people's heads now. And hitherto, this hasn't happened. It's now a new norm. Norm is now gone. It's humanity 2.0. But that's good. But by having conversations like this, our opinions can be shared. But I'm very cognizant of the fact that what I say here may not be relevant for other parts of the world because we're all different. So when Kamran or when was it who mentioned about the cigarettes being banned in South Africa? That was really shocking to me because that makes no sense. I've never seen that done, but locally that's is in South Africa. In my locale, it's different. So it's hard to have a one-stop solution for everything. So the more collaboration and sharing bits and pieces we can do with each other, the better it's going to be to kind of have a prescribed best practice that we can all dip into going forward.
Aleem, I'd like to just add to your comments. Being a banker and through these difficult periods, I think the initial few days or weeks of the lockdown was a shock. But I think what happened was it actually brought out the entrepreneurial spirit in a number of people because the number of queries that we're getting to open up small business banking accounts are quite fascinating. And people are coming up with some really entrepreneurial ideas. So just the other day, I was having a chat to a colleague of mine, and we're actually opening up the account of a gentleman who has decided to repair old medical equipment, and he's focusing on wheelchair repairs. And during this time of the pandemic, I think people have got ideas that have been locked up in their brains for a long, long time. And the pandemic has really given them an opportunity to express that entrepreneurial spirit by starting up these businesses. So to Dr. Da's point, to your points, I think we're going to see some fantastic new ideas pop through once all of this is through.
Yeah, that's great. One thing I would say is that I think it's an opportunity to increase your skill set. So for an example, I'm not known for building and renovation, okay? At the moment, I've taken on a 1-month project that's fairly big for building and renovation. But what I'm doing is I'm taking all of my knowledge of technology, bringing it into the building and renovation. So when we're putting in heating systems, they do not rely on airflow. It's using infrared, which means that's really good for pandemics, because typical heating you have to have an airflow. If we use infrared heating, we don't need airflow. Why have buttons to go into places when we can have infrared, we can have PIR sensors? So I think it's nice when we collaborate with different types of people, we take on work that hitherto maybe we've not done, because we will bring insight into that. Because I believe that you don't have to be an expert in a field to make a contribution to a field. So ultimately, you'd be amazed. I mean, my 10-year-old son now, every day, he's baking and cooking, and I don't know where he got it from. So that's certainly a benefit of this time. I think it's allowing us to stand back, maybe have a fresh perspective, maybe think about things in different ways, and then attack them for the right outcome. So for me, I'm finding this to be partially an amazing time. But obviously, everything is tempered with what's going on. I mean, my wife's dad passed away last month from COVID-19. So therefore, it is here. It's dreadful, but there are some nuggets that are good for improvement. Let's not forget those nuggets as well.
Yeah. I would like to add to the Aleem's and Brother Amman's comments on the impact on the innovation and entrepreneurial skills. That is really true, where many webinars actually talk about it. And as you are aware that we have 60 million small and medium enterprises in Indonesia that contributes to 40% of our GDP. This is quite a huge number that we have to save the small and medium enterprises. And how actually we go about it? So we actually try to link and match between these small and medium enterprises with the Islamic financial technology, for instance, and also to increase their innovation and creativity. And for instance, for the food, normally they serve people in the restaurants. They have to go and come out with the packaged foods, etc., with the good packaging and technology. And I think this is something that people now try to adapt as quick as possible to survive. And the government is trying to actually accommodate in that sense. And of course, there are not so quick as we expected, but we try to urge for relevant ministries to actually look into this. And regarding business, I myself also run small businesses, and now I can say that how actually we can save our employees for salaries, etc. We have to come up with innovation and collaborations. And so far, I managed some collaborations, and synergy with others. And also, I also run like a training and consultancy. Normally, we hold trainings in the hotel. We expect some crowds in the hotel, food and good entertainment, etc. But everything is transformed into webinars. And alhamdulillah, I just finished about 30 hours training for the past 2 weeks, and it's successful. So yes, because of the technology. Thank you.
Before people start thinking that my appearance was a guest appearance only, so I think I have to say something here. So, so the thing is that as Aleem just mentioned, Humanity 2.0, this saying or whatever he just said is such a truth that I remember when I was a child, I used to watch TV, and there was a show called Back to the Future. And there was a time machine where you just sit in the time machine, you set the knob to some other time, and when it stops and when you open the door, you are in a totally different world. And I think this pandemic has pushed us into a time machine. And when we will open the door, when we step out, that will be a different world. How? Because we have started doing which we thought that we might be doing in the next 5 years or 10 years. This webinar, our meetings, and this and that.
Yeah, let me stop you here. You can continue from here, because there is a question which is related to what you are saying.
Okay.
So basically, this question says that, there are a lot of technological advancements already. And because of this pandemic, of course, okay, we should be expecting a lot of changes in social and professional behaviors as well. Now, the question is, of course, there would be some improvements, but as a result of this pandemic, what kind of disadvantaged behavior in social and professional lives one should be expecting?
There can be many disadvantages. First disadvantage is that the physical activity has actually reduced a lot. And there is a possibility that our habits change in a way that we are not able to go back. But otherwise, I can see there are a lot of benefits as well. So we have to just do a benefit and cost analysis. So there is a possibility that we may lose out on a few things. But on the other side, as Sister Murniati mentioned and Aleem also mentioned, I think in the end, we will be, if we see the scale, it will be tilted towards the advantageous side and not on the disadvantageous side.
All right. Okay. Amman, there is another question, which is quite surprising for me. During this crisis, we have started using contactless, more use of technology in terms of payments. However, one gentleman, he has come up with this question saying that given the fear factor, it might very well be the case that some people have started withdrawing their money from banks. So have you started observing this kind of trend, or this is only a kind of fear? Nothing has happened. Like myself, I haven't gone to my bank to get my money out, but in certain cases, it might very well be the case.
Dr. Da, I can tell you at this point in time, and we've been looking at our numbers, as you can imagine, on a daily basis. There've been no negative movements in our balance sheets. In fact, balances have been growing. So, you must understand that there are negative and positive effects that the pandemic brings. And those customers that are into essential goods, I think their businesses are doing exceptionally well. So from that perspective, we have seen a healthy management of the balance sheet. The income statement may be a slightly different point. But coming back to your point, no, we have not seen a massive withdrawal in balances. Another concern that we had was a lot of people have put money into term deposits, deposits that are set for future dates. And I can also, confirm that we have not had almost any requests for early breakages on term deposit money. Obviously, the flow of cash that we see coming in and out of the bank is specifically related to normal transactional type activity, and that would be purchasing of basic essentials and groceries. But from a pure business perspective, we've done a lot to alleviate the pain for the next 3 months by creating specific debt relief processes where people who owe money on houses that have been financed, commercial property that have been financed, trade finance, vehicles and other movable assets. We've created structures within our products that we offer where we've given these 3-month payment holidays. Even there, surprisingly, we've had a healthy interest, but not a massive take up in terms of the offering itself. So to answer your question, Dr. Da, from my perspective, we haven't seen that. And then also, just to bring in a point, is that one of the points that the Chinese had picked up when the virus was spreading at an alarming rate was that physical cash notes were also part of the problem. And I think people are aware of that. So, the handling of cash is also being done with caution.
Does it mean that there won't be any currency, physical currency in future? Aleem, Kamran?
Well, I went to Nigeria. I was blessed to go to Nigeria a number of months ago, doing some work in Nigeria. And everybody uses a lot of notes because the value of the currency. They're using dollars and they're using their own currency. But because of the value of the currency, everybody's got big wads of notes. Now, that is terrible in terms of pandemic control. So can we go from that to not paper money? I don't think so in countries maybe like Nigeria, but I do think so in countries like the UK. So we might have a digital divide in terms of the staging of that happening.
Aleem, can I add something there? So I read something interesting. They say plastic will disappear before physical cash notes.
Wow.
It's already disappearing.
This is actually true. Okay, look, I have received this card, a replacement credit card, and a person like me, I would never ever use this Apple Pay or other, wallets in my phone. This is something I did for the first time. So definitely, because there's so many plastics, my card holder is that thick. So if I think from now on, this is a kind of push for me. I'm going to use all these debit cards and credit cards electronically. This is so much more convenient than holding these plastic cards. Kamran, okay, do you want to add something to this one, or you have been using something even more advanced?
All these technological solutions have been there. The only thing which we have seen of late during the last 2 months, that people have started using these modes of payment excessively. So I can see that there will be a definite change in behavior as far as the plastic is concerned. And I have seen many people who didn't use Apple Pay or Samsung Pay or Google Pay have started using that.
Right. There is a very interesting question. I have just seen it, but because of this, this is the disruptive effect of, this comes from Feni Khalid. Okay. The disruptive effect of pandemic is unavoidable. Any possible innovative and collaborative work should be looked at. Can the panelists suggest something concrete on future global transactions and who or which country will dominate the world? So given this, the changes because of pandemic, will there be any change in balance of power in the international politics?
That's a big question. It's a big question, and the answer is wherever you follow the money is that famous saying, isn't it? You follow the money. So ultimately, there may be, but I would imagine things are so well established in America, in the UK. I think a lot would have to happen. However, PayPal was incredibly disruptive when it came in, when Elon Musk brought that in. So whatever I say to you now might be nonsense in a couple of months, because ultimately, if you had said to me 6 months ago that today we're going to be sat here in the middle of a pandemic doing a webinar, I wouldn't have believed you. So it's hard to know because it's an emerging, changing scenario. So I don't see it with my head on, but who knows what can happen? People follow the opportunities.
So there may not be any changes in international politics, but there's this one question saying that given that now we have started enjoying working from home, is it the end of the office?
Well, Twitter have said yes. If the Twitter employees want to stay at home, they absolutely can do. But I think we passed the point. I used to work for an American firm that if you were going to be 5 minutes late, you'd have to phone. If you wanted to leave early, you'd have to give 2 weeks notice to go 10 minutes early. Now that's been flipped. We've had somehow an epiphany that working from home is no longer a sin. It's no longer people going to the beach. we've had to pass that. For some people, it's natural. For other companies, it's painful. But I think we're through that now. We know that working from home, because for me, work is something I do. It's not somewhere I go. It's always been the same, but the lines are getting thinner between the two.
Aleem,
So
I'd like to step in to that point as well, because I'm just chuckling as you're talking, because in the past, we were clock watchers. We watched what time people came into work, what time they left, and now we're running surveys to see how I can make life more comfortable for my employee to work from home. And the discussion is really now moved towards productivity in a different environment. And, just with the time that we have left, Dr. Dar, one of the key points I wanted to raise was that the way the whole human resources functions work in corporates is definitely going to change, because these once a year engagement surveys where we touch base with our employees and we check how they're doing and you give them a score it's not gonna work in this new world that we go forward on. We would actually have to look at a whole range of HR type solutions going forward. And I think the difference between good leaders and average leaders is going to be the leader who actually touches base on a much more regular basis with his or her employees. And I think one of the key factors that needs to be looked at is the whole element of mental health. Kamran touched on the physical part, but 2 months sitting at home, not having physical human interaction, running meetings over Teams. I think these are the things where leaders, from going from questioning employees will now move to listening and getting more involved, being fascinated to hear the way our employees are actually making things happen and still being able to produce in the way that they expected to produce. So I think as much as we speak about employees, I think the leaders are going to have to improve their abilities, and they're really going to have to tailor their approach to meet very different employee needs and to accommodate the various preferences that we see. Because in my case, with some of the surveys that we've run, we've actually found that some of our staff would prefer to actually come back to the office because the home environment is restrictive to a large extent. So Dr. Dar, on that point, I mean, we can talk for a long while, but I'm sure that, our other panelists also have similar experiences where, especially when you're leading large teams of people, you have to accommodate, and it's going to become a much more personalized process.
Actually, one of the participants.
I would like to add to the political tense that you mentioned. So I mentioned about the SMEs in Indonesia. We have 60 million SMEs in Indonesia, there, where many economists suggest that we should adopt a closed loop economy, where we should actually use our own local products. We have to do campaign on, I love local products. So this is going to be like a political tense where, we should actually appreciate our own local product. At the same time, the government or many people actually have to maintain their lifestyle to use foreign products. So where globalization's issue, etc., I think it's going to be more complex in the future. So this is something that I've been actually looking into. We cannot actually avoid being, having international relations.
So localization may be one result. There is this very interesting comment coming from Nabila Khan. She says working from home is progressive and gives us a sense of accountability. So basically substantiating the view that, office is gone. I personally think otherwise. It's 2 months and I am, getting now increasingly sick of working from home. I want to go back to work. Now, if working from home becomes a norm, I can tell you that a number of families are going to get broken. Divorce rate would go up. Okay. If I have to work from home, I should be by myself at home. Okay. If there are 4, 5, 6 people bugging me all the time, okay, this will be very difficult life. What do you think, Kamran?
In my view, yes, there is a possibility that things might get difficult while working from home. But I think we can look at the positive impact of working from home as well. Insofar as employers are concerned, I have seen that some people have started thinking about how to reduce their costs because business is taking a hit because of this pandemic. So where they can reduce cost otherwise, this is another way of reducing cost, and not having an employee being asked to come to office is going to save a lot of money. So in my view, that as I said, it will be a different world when we step out. So we can see that some people who have been asked to work from home might not be coming to office again. Working from home is going to continue.
You know, interesting observation, Kamran, is the two major health problems from working from home. The one is mental related, so elements of depression and, you know, not just being able to be around colleagues and doing your normal work.
I'm still mentally okay, by the way.
The second one, interestingly enough, which I'm suffering from, is that I sit 8 hours a day in my dining room chair. My dining room chair was not designed to be an office chair. And amazingly enough, globally, based on a survey that was conducted, backache is now becoming a big problem amongst the people who are sitting and working from home because the home hasn't been designed to be an office space. So I think once we can fix that up, hopefully the productivity will be much better as well.
But I'd like to just chip in to say that what will underpin a lot of what we're talking about is data. Because if people are not going to be there, we need a digital way to find out where we are, where we were, where we're going, productivity, audit, security controls. So data is going to be incredibly important. So data leaders are becoming even more important. So if you have a look at some of the writings that have been done by Doug Murph, the CEO of Splunk, there's some quite interesting things being said there. Because now this data, we need to know what's going on. If I could see you, maybe I could think I have a feeling how we're doing. But if we're all going to be invisible, if you will, we need to create this visibility. And that's where data is going to kick in. It's now serious. We passed the point of, oh, I wonder what that is, to, no, we have to have it because we must act upon it. You know, because ultimately data is useless unless you can action upon what you see. And that's going to be a key going forward.
But Aleem, I think the crux on what you raised there is the whole word that we haven't mentioned once is trust. And I think the data will support that element of trust. And so spot on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Okay, guys, look. Okay, it's 4 minutes to the end of the webinar, and Kamran has been mentioning. Okay, once pandemic is over, we would be stepping out to a new world, a completely different world. I'm going to give you 1 minute each. What kind of new world would you like to see when you go out? Murniati, I'm starting with you.
Yeah, I'm expecting that the new world or new normal for me is actually people getting more concerned about cleanliness, about health, and about social affections and caring, and of course efficiency and effectiveness in work, and many positive things that I'm expecting.
All right, thank you very much, Aleem.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm quite a polite person, but I'm now paranoid about being super polite. So I'm kind of thinking going forward that we're all used to queuing. The politeness we've had to show, the tolerance we've had to show will somehow reverberate in our psyche, and we'll be friendlier, more tolerant people. That's kind of the behavior I think are likely to change. The social behaviors.
I think with all this time that we've had at home, I really hope that everyone had the opportunity to get to know themselves a little bit better. Because I think if you're in touch with yourself, you'd be able to be, ready to face any new world that you be put in. And then just talking from a banker's perspective, to all my colleagues who are in frontline sales or in banking, I want to change the definition of KYC to know your customer to the extent that you understand how they fit into the new world going forward. And don't let it just be for anti-money laundering. Let it be for how we structure going forward.
Thank you very much. Kamran, you are the last one.
Yeah.
Before I say something.
The thing which is changing, I have seen people going out with hundreds or at least dozens of bags of everyday food with them and going and distributing to people who have been affected as a result of this lockdown. And I think this sense of charity, this behavior of helping others is going to continue. It's not going to stop when the pandemic is over. And I hope we will be living in a better world where people care for each other. And one more thing, I just want to make a note, and I would like to thank all the people who have attended, especially those for them, the timings were a bit odd. And due to some technical reasons, we had to keep this time. And I hope that for the next webinar, we'll be keeping a timing which is suitable for everyone.
Yeah.
With this, ladies and gentlemen, we end this webinar. But before we do so, once again, I would like to thank everyone for participating. This was our first webinar. There must be a lot of shortcomings in the future one. We would like to take care of that. But before we sign off, I would like to say that one thing which is going to change completely is the way we learn. Our children are not going to go to schools. Of course, okay, they're going to go back to schools immediately, but the future generations would have to consult a dictionary to find the meanings of the word school. School is going to disappear. This will be all online perpetual learning from now on. And I wish this had happened about 50 years back. I did not have to go through this whole exercise of getting up in the morning and against my wish going to school. The future generations would be learning by themselves, and the effect of that on the professions would be that there would be professional learning in an automatic kind of way as well. So those who are into teaching and into training kind of things, watch out. This is going to be your end. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Would you like to take picture for everyone?
Walaikum salam.
We can take picture with everyone if you wish to.
Okay, please.
Okay, smile everyone.
How?
I'm taking picture now.
Okay, good.
Okay, smile. Okay, first page, second page, smile. Smile.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah. Please fill up the survey and before you leave this webinar, because this is the survey.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you.
Walaikum salam.
I see Dr. Khurram Sajjad from Minhaj University, Lahore. So, Assalamualaikum, brother.
Okay. Good Hafiz. Assalamualaikum.
Thank you for those who have filled out the survey. We are going to use the results of the survey to evaluate and to improve the next webinar.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye then. Assalamualaikum.
Salam warahmatullah. Thank you. Thank you.
No.